As the largest city in southern Ukraine and one of the biggest ports on the Black Sea, Odesa has long been a hub of trade, finance and culture in Eastern Europe. It is both Ukraine's maritime gateway and a focal point of global geopolitics. Launched in 2024 by a group of Ukrainian parliamentarians, the Black Sea Security Forum in Odesa is the largest such conference in southern Ukraine since the start of the full-scale invasion. Last week in Ukraine, I moderated a panel with these distinguished guests. We do have a wonderful panel for you now to discuss the issue of alliances. Alliances now more critical than ever. Or are they? Discuss, as we're about to discuss. Delighted to join me on the panel today, Ambassador Valeriy Chalyi, who's a former Ukrainian ambassador to the United States. I love you.
Thank you.
Joining us also, Ambassador William Taylor, a distinguished fellow at the Atlantic Council and a former US ambassador to Ukraine. Bill, lovely to see you. And also former Senator Gianni Vernetti, who is the Undersecretary of Foreign Affairs for Italy. Gianni, lovely to see you as well. Right, no music. Thank you. So, alliances matter until they don't. Was it Churchill? I'm going to murder this, but was it Churchill who said that the worst thing? No, it was Napoleon. Wellington, the other fella. The worst thing about going to war in an alliance is going to war without an alliance. So it's a hardy perennial. It has been known throughout history, the joys and the pain of alliances. But if I could start, Ambassador Valeriy, if I could start with you. In terms of alliances, and Ukraine's relationship with the United States in particular, but also the EU and the rest of the world, there is great strength in staying closely tied, economically, militarily, politically, but there are dangers as well. Do you think Ukraine at the moment has the balance just about right, or where do you see room for improvement?
First of all, thank you for the previous year to tell us about the new weapons and everything connected. You remind me, when you asked me about the United States and alliance before the war, I remember how we cooperate together with Ambassador Taylor, Ambassador Walker, Italian military groups, how to be prepared for war. I'm now talking about javelins, anti-tank missiles. And we can say, and our colleague told you about FPV drones, right? But if we not have in the very first day of Russian attack on Kiev direction, javelins and some additional equipment, believe me, it will be much, much difficult to defend the city, defend the capital. So we can consider it a formal alliance like NATO membership. It would be much, much better. We can't even, I can say you that Shiva's ambassador results to sign the defense agreement with the United States, but I believe President Zelensky will be more successful in that, signed with President Trump defense agreement as security guarantees. But in that time, our relationship, the level of our relationship with the United States, with Great Britain, with, with Italy, because Italy, the country that surprised me a lot of these years, and not because of we now have a big delegation. By the way, thank you very much for that. You come to Ukraine, and Vice President and former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs and author of the Dissident book, who is also divided this as authoritarian regime and democracies. It's helped a lot us, but not less your engines from your military forces also comes to Ukraine before the war. So that's why we are not being part of alliance, unfortunately. And I would say it was one of the reasons why Putin decided to go in. If Ukraine be in that time in NATO, believe me, Putin will not attack us in that time. But this alliance that we have in bilateral with British, with intelligence of Great Britain, with others, I can now say you this very first, we just discussed that, with very first days of Russian aggression, of full-scale aggression, because war began in 2014, for sure. Now the head of the military administration, when spoke, remained us. It's the 20th of February when began war. So on a full-scale invasion, special operation forces from your country, from other countries, be on the ground. And the formal task for them was to bring back British, American, Italian diplomats. But in reality, this also helped Ukrainians in this situation, special operations forces. So, alliance matter. Alliance like security defense alliance, even much matter more. But if you have friendly people, if you have bilateral relations, if you have the non-formal alliance, it also helps a lot. And thanks to our cooperation in the previous time, in my position as foreign policy advisor to the President of Ukraine, we signed with the United States, we signed the strategic partnership agreement, we signed the charter of strategic partnership. So I can say that only one thing, alliance not only matter, but for Ukraine critical important. There's another thing about they don't works, not proceed. It's very bad for Ukraine because Ukraine is not a superpower. It is not a superpower. We face a threat from nuclear, very big country on our border. And that's why we need alliance. We must to create alliance. And it doesn't matter that immediately we will have alliance with NATO, for example, a member of NATO, not. But even agreement with the United States. But we can sign agreement with Britain, Great Britain, nuclear power, now more and more important country in the terms of security, or sign the agreement with Italy, that the country was more important for us as a political partner, and European Parliament did a lot of with sanctions. By the way, your new decision, we applaud for that, because with your political position, it would be very difficult to push bureaucrats doing that thing. And Alexei Goncharenko doing well, that's keeping contact with such people in Europe, that helps Ukraine a lot. So, make this story short. We not only, in the beginning of war, be in the some alliance like Mural or even bilateral, but we, in the future, critical needs alliance, critical needs. But probably it would be with countries like Great Britain, northern countries of Europe, these Baltic states and Italy, like such a Baltic Black Sea border. But we need alliance. Ukraine should be very active. And in Ukraine, I come on TV channels many times. What we need to do now? We try to find the real alliance. And Ukraine still do not have any defense agreement, So please, Ukraine, as you had of the first panel, now have the great opportunity to contribute to new security with new technologies. So not only for that, but also for some other reasons, Ukraine, very important country for the future security architecture. So it's not only the question of the previous day, is a question of the future.
Thank you, Vernetti. We will come on to the issue of security guarantees later, and I would like to ask, is there any guarantee short of Article 5? Hold that thought, please, gentlemen. We will talk about that a little bit later. And Senator Gianni, Valeriy just said that the critical importance of the relationship with the EU and Italy in particular, and I know it's early in the session, so I don't want to upset you by telling you a senior member of the Black Sea Security Forum today has already told me that their favourite pizza has got pineapple on it, but please just don't start there. If we look at the EU, how good an alliance, how good a partner is the EU for Ukraine? If we look at the difficulty of getting the Russian frozen assets unlocked, in the end proved too hard, and the EU came up with a 90 billion euro loan, which is terrific, but it still doesn't mean that they managed to unlock the frozen assets question. So how good a partner, how strong an alliance member is the EU for Ukraine?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, and thank you very much for the Black Sea Security Forum for hosting this crucial debate in such an important moment during in occasion of the 4th anniversary. As my friend and colleague Pina Picerno just said a few minutes ago, the Vice President of the European Parliament, I think that the alliance matters more than ever. And that's Europe from one side, and I will answer to you, but also the transatlantic alliances, because I will hear from the voice of the Ambassador Taylor. I think it's not just an issue of presidents that come and go, the transatlantic alliance still matters for Europe. So we cannot think that it's over. Transatlantic alliance is still in our horizon, and it still will matter for a long time in the future for Ukraine and for the single European Union country. Going back to Europe, Europe still is in a crucial moment because let's say that in the last 4 years, I really think that Europe wake up, and the large-scale aggression of Ukraine by Russia, by the Russian Federation, oblige Europe to waken up. But still, Europe is not at the end of its path. Let's say, when we say sometime Europe needs to become an adult. So it's still in a childhood moment or a teen moment, I don't know. Because still there is an issue. You mentioned the not yet unfrozen funds, and because we have a unanimity system that it really block our decisional procedure. We still could have a single country that could block a strategical choice like releasing a frozen fund that could really be a game changer on the ground here in Ukraine. But I really think that Europe made a lot just in the last 12 months. For example, the Security Action for Europe. And that's something that really could allow a new step forward in providing armaments and providing new defense capability. I want to mention, for example, something that it seems not very related to Ukraine, but it is. 10 days ago, European Union signed the new free trade agreement with India. I think it was a crucial step, but also signed European Union and India signed a defense and security partnership. In this defense and security partnership with a large Indian democracy is included the possibility that the Indian military companies, Indian military assets could participate to the SAFE project. So could be actively involved in the production for new armaments and defense capability for Ukraine. So this is another proof that really alliance matters. So I think, let me conclude on that. Europe is a big building, but also is made of a very important single country. So every single European Union can also do much more. I'm thinking about bilateral defense pact with Ukraine, more advanced bilateral defense agreement of each single European Union country. So I think that's my point.
You raised SAFE, the Security Action for Europe Fund, which is a 150 billion euro fund into which EU member states can bid for defence industrial work. Those that are not in the EU can apply to join and to have a go at the pot. You've allowed Canada, the EU has allowed Canada into the scheme at the price tag of 10 million euro. Negotiations with the United Kingdom broke down because the demand of the UK was somewhere around 2 billion euro. Now, is that not an example of where the EU and Britain, we're all at fault if a deal doesn't happen, just can't get past the politics right now at this time of absolute existential demand? We can't get past the politics and find a way of allowing the great defence industrial base of the United Kingdom to be part of SAFE, to the benefit of us all. Is that not an example of the failure of the EU right now?
Yeah, in a way, yes, I agree with you, but we needed to do as much as possible to bring back again United Kingdom on board on this initiative, because the United Kingdom has a very important industrial military base. I'm talking about as an Italian, and Italian government promoted the GCAP together with UK, the Global Compact Air Program that between Italy, UK and Japan, so that is for the 6th generation fighter jet. So I'm really convinced that we have to do as much as possible, as much as we can to bring back again United Kingdom on board on the SAFE project.
What kind of price tag would you put on Britain's entry ticket to SAFE? If it was 10 million euro for Canada, what do you think Britain should be looking at paying roughly to get access to SAFE?
From UK side, you mean?
Yeah, the price of entry for the United Kingdom.
I'm not able to answer to you. I think I'm not able. I don't know, frankly speaking.
No problem. Ambassador Taylor, Bill, Dennis Healey, he was the other chap. John Healey, Britain's Defence Secretary, he wrote in the Telegraph over the weekend, he wrote an op-ed for us ahead of the tomorrow's fourth anniversary of the start of the full-scale invasion. He said the only thing Ukraine fears is Western fatigue. Is he right to be afraid? And do you detect any fatigue, both from the West and in particular from the United States, which, if I may, seemed a little bit detached in the last year or so?
No, I don't. Fatigue. We've heard about this for a long time. It's an indulgence, and it's an indulgence that we can't abide. The people who experience fatigue live in Ukraine. I mean, the soldiers, they're allowed to feel, and they don't stop. So Europeans shouldn't stop. Americans shouldn't stop. And no, I don't see the fatigue that he worries about.
Ambassador Chalyi, we talk about the coalition of the willing and security guarantees. I mentioned earlier on, is there any guarantee short of the NATO Article 5? I'd be interested in your view on that. But also, the coalition of the willing is supposed to deter Russia and reassure Ukraine. Do you feel reassured by what you hear about the coalition of the willing at the moment?
First of all, I appreciate this creation of coalition of the willing. In different journalists, Ukrainian journalists translate it a different way. But it's a coalition of the willing, this reality, and I appreciate this very many countries, European countries, and not, by the way, not only Europeans. And I want to remind you Ramstein format also. Now Europeans take responsibility from the United States. So, frankly, I'm not very happy with that, but it's reality. So these coalitions is a new example how international order will proceed next time. I think years. Why? Because United Nations not efficient. OSCE, Russians make many efforts to just destroy security component of OSCE. NATO also face some question. For example, I will be not surprised if President Trump will apply for withdrawing US from NATO in October. You know why October? Because it's NDA finished. NDA is only law in the United States that prohibits to President Trump to begin the procedure for withdrawal. But it's a pessimistic thing. But optimistic is will not finish by withdrawal. So it's my experience in the United States. I don't know if Ambassador Taylor share with me that, but no, not share. But I think it's in any case will not finish by the US decision and go out from NATO. So, and we have some discussion. Is political order, international order is changed significantly. And what's main thing happened? The main thing that the big countries, the superpower like China and the United States, but mostly by their leadership, now try to destroy, using Putin as a leader of Russia, destroy international order. This will live for a long time. And why Ukraine matters? Why Ukraine important in that? Because Ukraine, the country, this focus all the world, if Ukraine, but I am this for 100% sure, Ukraine will defend sovereignty, territorial integrity, so it will be not the message for the whole world, this such an attempt for dividing all the world, all the, not the rule of law, but rule of strength, will not happen. That's why Ukraine is so important for Europe. Very important for Europe. I like your discussion about money between Great Britain and Italy. It's a great discussion, finally. But
I can't speak for the whole of
yeah. But I waited for such a discussion for many forums, and finally it's happened. Because this year, 100% support we received from Europe, money from not only coalition of willing, not only Ramstein, but also financial support. All the Pearl program is European countries. 100% of, not 100, we receive also from United States a part of directly to Ukraine, but more, this Europe take responsibility. So I am not only appreciative of coalition of willing, I also wanted to, try Alexei Goncharenko in Munich conference, push President Macron He's very clear, demonstrate that Ukraine won't have action, not only just discussion, but also what we need. We need presence of European forces on our land. That's it. It would be a very clear message to Putin that no other attempts can lead him for results. And finally, Minister of Defense of Great Britain, ready for that? Only waiting political decision. Minister of Pistorius of Germany, ready for that? Just waiting, pay for that, not on the ground. German will pay for that. But France, it's interesting. France not ready yet doing that. President Macron discussed many things, but President Macron now very active to make connection with President Putin. I don't know why. So we not only appreciate coalition, we need the next steps of this coalition. We need this there, not discussion, not just tell us something, but doing something. And doing something, 60,000 Europeans on Ukrainian ground. It doesn't mean immediately on the front line, no. It could be operated training center for, like Russians have in Belarus territory. Why Russians allow to have this training center, we do not have this opportunity? And other things. So I am really not only supporter of this idea, coalition of willing, but I am very optimistic about future. Why? Because Europe in that case, if we will not be optimism and not achieve that presence of European forces on Ukrainian territory, you Europeans who is among us here will face Russian on your ground, believe us.
Coming from such a distinguished diplomat, an expert in foreign and international affairs as Ambassador Valeriy, surely comments like the US will be out of NATO by the end of this year, or will seek to start the process of leaving NATO by the end of this year, should chill us all. How much, start with you, Ambassador Bill, if I may, how much do you think that is accurate? And then, Senator Gianni, how do you feel about the US and their relationship to NATO right now?
No. Valeriy, no. Thank you. The United States has said, and this President Trump has said, that he's committed to NATO. He said it, he's committed to Article 5. Plus, it's against the law to even start pulling out of NATO. So, all to say that that's one thing we don't have to worry about.
Gianni?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that we need to worry about a possibility that the United States could leave NATO. Nevertheless, I think that a single European country, the European component of NATO, could do much more alone. That's no need to wait United States, for example, for bilateral military agreement. No need to wait United States, for example, to deploy European troops for training activity, as Ambassador said, on Ukrainian soil. So I think that really the much more can be done even from the single European country, member of NATO, of course.
So European troops, Western troops, but European troops on Ukrainian territory in some sort of training capacity, or the Coalition of the Willing, deterrence force, reassurance. John Healey said this weekend that he wants to be the British Defence Secretary that deploys British troops to Ukraine. He was talking about a post-ceasefire model. Now, Russia has always said they will not accept any NATO troops in Ukraine post any kind of negotiation, ceasefire. The answer to that to now has been, well, it's not up to them to say who can and cannot enter the territory of Ukraine. So it's Ukraine to invite foreign forces, if they so wish, onto their territory. Start at the end of the panel here, please, if I may, Ambassador Bill. Is it really that simple? Does Russia not get a vote?
Russia does not get a vote. Russia does not get a vote. Russia gets a vote as to whether they sign a ceasefire or adhere to a ceasefire. But they don't get a vote. We know there are NATO soldiers in Ukraine right now. You know, no one asked the Russians if they could be there. They're here. You know, we know that. No one asked Russia if it was okay with them for Finland and Sweden to join the alliance. No, you don't ask them. You don't ask the Russians if it's okay to deploy coalition of the willing forces, backed up by the United States, by the way, in Ukraine, either before or after a ceasefire. I would agree with the deployment early, now, in training capacity and other logistical and communications. There are a lot of things that NATO forces could do there now. But you don't ask the Russians. It's there to deter the Russians. So you don't ask them if it's okay with them to do that. If that means they don't sign a ceasefire, that's why the defense minister is right. That's why you're exactly right, that he should deploy now.
And just on that then, Gianni, so very clear view there from the United States. So you're saying that these conversations about, we've got to worry about what Russia may or may not do post-ceasefire about NATO troops in Ukraine. You think these conversations are just not happening in the corridors of European power? It is so unequivocal that Russia does not get a vote that this is not a consideration?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Ambassador Taylor said just before. I really think that after the ceasefire, the sovereign Ukraine will choose her path, and that means full European integration. Will have all the rights, Ukraine will have all the rights to sign bilateral defense agreement with a single country. He will have the full right to continue a process of integration in Euro-Atlantic security. So I think Russia won't have nothing to say on that. NATO has raised its spending target by 2035 to 5% of GDP spent on defence, with 3.5% being spent on heavy metal and 1.5% being spent on defence-related infrastructure. So, Gianni, you can probably see where this is coming. Can I ask you about a bridge? Giorgia Meloni wants to spend €13.5 billion on a bridge to Sicily, which she tried to claim was in that 1.5% of defence-related infrastructure. Does that not just show the bad practice that is going to be sought by a number of people around the NATO alliance if you start coming out with phrases like 5% but only 3.5% on heavy metal? Is there enough wiggle room there in the gaps for bad practice to take hold? Yeah, first of all, I totally agree in the increase of spending of the, let's say, European NATO alliance. So the real issue was that in the last 20 years, we do not increase enough budget for the military spending. And that was one correct point that was raised several times by the United States. And we have to totally agree with our American partner on that point. Italy is a country well known since centuries for creativity, that's for sure. But I don't think to be too much creative. So, for example, I disagree with Prime Minister Meloni's statement when she said we can fit the bridge between Sicily and Calabria within the 1.5% of, let's say, related in military investment. No, I think every country needs to be serious. Every European country needs to commit. Pina Picciano said clearly, Ukraine security is European security. Ukraine freedom is our freedom. Ukraine democracy will protect our democracy. So we need to be serious. We need to commit, of course, for every country to increase military spending is a dramatic choice, is a tough choice, because, of course, budget is budget and there are limitations. But I think we cannot be too much creative on this side.
My panel, thank you so much, Ambassador Valeriy, Ambassador Bill, Senator Gianni. Thank you very much for your time.
For more from the Ukraine the Latest team, sign up to our weekly email newsletter. You'll get exclusive analysis and behind-the-scenes insights from me and Dom, plus answers to your questions. Scan the QR code to sign up for free today.